Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Welcome to the F4L Headquarters podcast. Thank you. Thank you, folks. Thank you. Folks, today's show is a little different than our normal everyday shows we do when we do shows. Today's show is a little special because, one, it's not going to be an overly long episode because this show's purpose is never to bum people out or whatnot. It's really about honoring the memory and the icons and legends and how to deal with saying goodbye to these people. So at the top of the hour, I just want to take a moment to honor some people we've lost in the last couple of days. Pro wrestling business is like the entertainment world. It seems to be inevitable that they come in threes. And what's sad on my end of things is I've had to sadly say goodbye to many of my friends over the years. One of the people we've lost over the last 48 hours is someone whom I worked with not long ago. So, if we could, and another person is one of the legends of the wrestling business in general, so if we could, just take a moment. My thoughts and prayers go to the Rotunda family, first and foremost, as I worked with Wyndham many years, for a little while there towards the end, a couple times, as well as having to meet and learn a couple things from the great Terry Funk as well. So if we have a moment of silence in the memory of these great men. Thank you. In wrestling, it's tradition, you ring the bell 10 times. And I suppose if I had the right sound effect for that, I probably would. That is a wrestling tradition. You know, what's interesting about the wrestling world that a lot of people don't talk about is the fact that those of us who go into it, those of us who train and who dream to be an entertainer, entertain the masses of people, we have, on paper, we have probably the lowest life expectancy of any other pro sport or any other type of way to make a living, really. It's sad, but it's reality. And to say I don't feel sadness for the families of the survivors of the people who we have lost the last 48 hours, it's an understatement. I do feel a sense of sadness, but also I want to make something clear on this so people are aware. I have had to say goodbye to many of my friends already in this lifetime. Friends, family. I've been to more wakes and funerals than I've ever been to a wedding or a christening. That's a sad reality. And they come in different forms, these saying goodbye to people. It can come in an accident. It can be a long and painful process as far as a long battling illness. It could be drug addiction. It could be self-inflicted. It could be a total accident. You never know. Something I think that people often forget is one of my biggest pet peeves whenever these things happen is how people are quick to already jump on the sympathy bandwagon for the people who are gone. When they were alive or living, no one thought to reach out to these people. No one had the same inklings of these people who were supposed to mean so much to individuals until after they're gone, and then your social media feed will be filled with pictures of yourself and the person who was gone. I have to say, in the early days of Facebook, I probably did something similar. I have since that not done that anymore. I will not post a picture with myself and the person who has just lost their life. Why won't I do that? Why don't I like a post that someone has said has lost? Because, very simply put, why would you like a post that someone has gone? And also, whenever you post a picture of someone with, for the my perspective is, whenever you post a picture of yourself with said person who passed away, I feel that you're making it about you. And I know that this is a grieving process. People grieve in many different ways. I understand that. Me personally, I've not cried a single tear since I was 10 years old for anything, let alone loss. 10 years old. 10 years old, I've lost several people by that point, but also everything else that I shed tears for. The ongoing joke is I use them all up. Since I was 10, I've lost my grandmother, my mother, my other grandmother, aunts, uncles. I've said goodbye to a lot of people. Not a tear has fallen. It's not because I don't feel things. It's not because I'm an emotional. It's not because I'm an emotionless cyborg or something. It's because I realized that shedding tears isn't going to bring anyone back from myself. But also, those tears make it about me. It's a pain I feel for the person. I can reflect upon that without having to shed a tear for that. My mother, I lost in 2010, as people know. I've talked about it before. And there are days when, I think to my mother, man, I wish my mother was here to see some type of life, a life event, like getting married, having kids. My daughter's engaged now. I'm not going to say that. My daughter's not engaged now. But what happens is life goes on. My kids grow up without their grandmother. And there are lifetimes, birthdays, celebrations that are not, she's not there for. I live with that. Other family, other friends who I've lost along the way, the same thing. The pro wrestling business is a very, very strong brotherhood. You travel up and down the road with some people. The locker rooms are a sacred place. It's a sense of brotherhood, a sense of belonging. A lot of people look at the locker room like any other sport, like you would go for football or baseball. And sure, when you're a team sport, you have that sense of closeness. But when it comes to pro wrestling, listen, I've played many sports in my time. I've done martial arts since a young age. I've been on the soccer team. I've been on the swim team. I've been on the wrestling squad. I've played volleyball. I've played softball. I've played pretty much everything that there is to play. And I can tell you this, throughout the locker rooms, I've lifted weights, but it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, all of those sports combined, it doesn't have the same hardness that the wrestling brotherhood does. I don't know what makes it special. I've done, like I said, I've done soccer and I've done wrestling, amateur wrestling, plenty. And I'm not saying you can't have that tight bond with those you train with, but there is a brotherhood in pro wrestling, a sisterhood for those women out there who train alongside with the guys. The blood, the sweat, the tears, the things that go into making dreams happen. Yesterday we got the news that legendary Terry Funk, one of the most one of the biggest names out of Texas, Amarillo, Texas, who is someone who has transcended not only into pro wrestling but also film. A lot of people talk about The Rock and John Cena and all of these people, but really if it wasn't for Terry Funk tipping his toe into the film world from the wrestling world, which is something that Terry himself has always wanted to do. Terry Funk has given more for the wrestling business than most people could dream of. What I take from my point of view is, yeah, it's sad that Terry is gone. Terry lived a long life, and Terry lived a life that was up and down, pains, aches, but the memories that he has shared with many people, the knowledge he has bestowed upon a lot of young people out there, the things you can learn from Terry Funk if you're willing to listen. I had the honor of meeting Terry a couple times in a couple different locations and so forth, and Terry was always a class act, especially with the other guys. Terry was one of the original boys, and then he is also responsible for the Hollywood transcending. Movies like Roadhouse or Over the Top. Two tough guys. Two tough guy roles because we're one of the toughest people out of Amarillo, Texas. And what people will never really understand is how someone can go into a ring and barely be able to walk, but yet somehow when they go in front of that audience, inside that ring, they become alive. Terry could never walk backstage, barely. But when he goes to a ring, he was doing moonsaults and gave everything he could for this business. Sometimes a lot of the young guys, a lot of people who are coming up don't quite understand why a lot of the guys who are like myself are so taken back at the lack of respect of the younger stars who don't think that they need to listen to the legends like Terry Funk. They think that they can handle this business without him. Hey, maybe you will. Sure. Maybe you will. Maybe you can do all of these amazing things without listening to those who have paved the way for all of us in the wrestling business today. Because that's ultimately what that's about. It's tradition. If it wasn't for people, men like Terry Funk, wrestling business, who knows, would be today. ECW, Paul Heyman would probably be the first one to tell you that if it wasn't for Terry Funk, ECW would never have caught on like it did. Sure, it had the elements that people can argue all day, but if it wasn't for Terry Funk legitimizing the company and making it pro wrestling, because there was no better performer out there than Terry Funk. No greater mind than Terry Funk. He cut a promo and made you feel what he was saying. You knew you were in trouble if you irritated Terry Funk. Terry Funk said he was going to beat you up. You better get ready because he's probably going to beat you up. That's reality of the wrestling business. Terry is no longer with us today. He's, and everyone has their own assumptions and everyone has their own beliefs, and I'm not going to tell someone one's worse than the other, one's better than the other. I say believe whatever it is you want to believe, but one thing you always want to do is, instead of getting all a sadness and focusing on the grief, celebrate the people that they were, the lives that they've led. Flipping the script, today I was out along with my wife, and coming home, my wife had gotten the news on another friend, and someone whom I worked with not long ago. Wyndham Rotunda one of the best modern day talkers, minds, and one of the most greatest human beings you could be. A fellow bully buster. A lot of people might not know that, but he was very much against bullying, something we talked a lot about. Had a passion for horror movies and rock music. Different cat, as they said. I'm not sure Bray got the respect he deserved in the wrestling business. Gave him the fair shot that he should have. But I'm proud of the time that we spent together. And I'm honoring a friend. And when it comes to those kinds of things, when you say goodbye to friends or relatives, those you care about, what does that mean to the individual? So for some, a goodbye is a permanent thing. See you later, never to be seen of again. But then there are others who say goodbye in hopes to see one another again. Now, where does the F4L stand on that? We're in the F4L Headquarters podcast, so clearly the F4L has a position on death and saying goodbye and so forth. And here's the deal. And everyone has their own belief system, and again, we respect each other's differences. That's one thing we do. And if praying to some type of God or something that is in your religion helps you, by all means. But one thing that I personally believe, and we in the original F4L believed, is that an old saying from a movie, I'm sure you guys all saw it, but we have adapted it. The old saying is, heroes are remembered, but legends never die. Heroes are remembered for the time being, but legends live forever. Legends continue. So, I think the exact quote is, heroes are remembered, but legends never die. But in the F4L, we also add that when you're icons of the F4L, you live forever. Or when you're F4L, you live forever. And it doesn't necessarily mean you're with each other physically all the time, because I'm going to be honest with you guys, technically the idea of the F4L and its power really is resonated with the feeling that you know you're not alone. You know there are other people who believe in the F4L lifestyle like you. And sometimes when I'm having a hard time and I'm feeling challenged and I'm feeling like the weight of the world is on my shoulders, I'll close my eyes and I'll think and I'll think to myself, I wish I had my F4L with me right now. I'll close my eyes and picture those who are no longer with us, my F4L brothers and sisters who have fallen before me, and I picture them embracing me and giving me the power when I need it the most. I've been very candid at the fact that sometimes when the schools ask me to come to the various school, assemblies that I have to attend to try to make sense of tragedies, sometimes it's hard for me to come up with those answers to questions I don't even know. I don't know why people do things that they do. I don't know why people choose hatred over love, care, compassion, understanding, and respect for each other's differences. I can't answer that question because that's up to the people who are doing those things. But what I can do is continue teaching about the F4L and talking about it, making people aware that it is a thing. That if you're someone who believes that life doesn't have to be so mean, you don't have to be mean. I've been a bully buster since day one. And it's not because I was bullied. It's not because I was tortured. It's because I refused to watch others do that to somebody else. It's because I decided to take a stand against what was not right. Just like when I grew up in a family that did not have the same feelings, morals, or whatever else that I did, I took a stand and I helped form the F4L for a better life, a better family, for my kids, for your kids, for our kids, for our grandkids. On the news, people are doing all kinds of crazy things, politicians and world leaders and who knows what. Listen, I don't talk about politics on this show because it's outside of my realm of knowledge. Sure, I could sit there and tell you what I would like to do if I was a certain in politics or something, but that's not what I'm about. I didn't go to school for politics. I went to school for pro wrestling. I went to school for human services. I went to school for film. And most of all, I got trained to become a professional wrestler because that was my first goal, my first dream. Guess what? I accomplished that because of my work ethic, my drive. Did people support me all the way around? Did people say, oh, you know, you can do that, no problem? Heck no. There wasn't always sunshine and rainbows. Nothing in life is. That's a quote by Rocky Balboa, in fact. I'm not going to go into a long spiel, but it is a great quote. I do recommend you guys take the quote down from Rocky Balboa. I'll give it to you next week, maybe, if need be. Today's Throwback Thursday, and I think what's impressive about this day is this is the day when normally you show an old picture of something you have done in the past, an old moment, an old acquaintance, an old memory floods your whatever. So that's what Throwback Thursday is. And here's the thing. I don't want to go all the way back to the Thursdays of my childhood. Not all of them were great. But what I do know is this. You need to make the most of every moment that you have while you're around. If you have something you want to say to someone, don't harness that feeling. Don't bury those words behind your skull. Because you don't know what tomorrow brings. My friend Wyndham was only 36 years old, ladies and gentlemen. 36 years old. I know people in Hollywood are used to this just as much as we are. It's a sad tragedy. You wonder yourself, how do people have this such a short lifetime? Is it the pain? Is it the anguish? Is it the lifestyle? Is it mental health? Is it drugs? Is it alcohol? Is it stress? It could be many things. From what I understand, apparently it was a heart attack brought on via COVID that he was never fully really over to begin with. And when I think to myself of people who are I think this is going to be another one of those things where people are going to automatically say, oh, well, yeah, I like him, and now you'll see the tributes to everybody, but again, when he's around, everyone makes fun of him. Not just recently, people were talking about how goofy his character was and everything else. I know this because I helped develop that character. And I know how much it meant to him, how much he put into trying to get that over for fans. Unfortunately, Wyndham's not here anymore. There's no more Bray Wyatt at all. And, yeah, I could get angry and get upset at the fact that, you know, people make these things about themselves. I don't want this show to be remembered for... I don't want this moment to be considered to be me making this about me. What I want to do is honor people and give people tips on how do you move forward. What do you do? How do I cope? And the way I cope, honestly, folks, is I just remember each of those people as if they were with me and then they're not truly gone. That I believe that they are with me, a part of me, and everyone you encounter in life has some type of meaning in your life. Good, bad, or indifferent. Make the moment, but I think what is important at the end of the day, no matter what it is you need to take your lives for what they are. A gift to succeed. A gift to try new things. A gift to silence the doubters. And each day you have is another day that someone was not fortunate enough to have. I want you to think of this next time you're having the worst day of your life. Everyone at work's a jerk, customers are being mean to you, or your boss is breathing down your neck, you're swamped at work, you go to the drive-in at the local Dairy Mart or coffee shop and there's a line out the door, and then you get to the window and they're out of the thing you ordered. Sure, you can get upset and annoyed, but just remember, all of these things that you're encountering, someone's not even fortunate enough to do that today. People ask me why I left the movie theater a long time ago. It wasn't that long ago, folks, but here's the thing. Why I started thinking maybe I shouldn't work in the movie theater anymore was when the customers started worrying about stale popcorn and how their seat wasn't reclining far back enough, or that their straw was made of paper and not made of plastic, or various other things that people can find things to nitpick and complain about. Yet there are people who are that are having health issues and mental health issues that can't even bring themselves to get to a movie theater. But the living people that can do these things willingly take these things for granted. And at the end of the day, that is the biggest and that is the most disrespectful thing you can do to those who have already passed on, is by wasting your potential. And it's by not seizing the moments that you have every day. One thing never changes. I always tell my wife and my kids I love them. Morning, noon, night, whenever I get in a moment. And if that makes me look like a weirdo because I tell my daughter, my son, and my wife that I love them, then so be it. Because guess what? At the end of the day, I know that if they go out that door or I go out that door and something happens to me or them, they know that I love them. There is no question there because I told them that. And they feel that. What that comes down to is that sense of not holding on to that regret that everyone seems to hold pieces of those things. And you don't get those things if you just let people know how you feel. Tell them what's up. If you have feelings for someone, tell them you have feelings for them. If someone makes you upset, tell them that. If you feel sadness or bad for some reason, regardless what it is, take those moments, reflect upon them, and realize that you're not guaranteed tomorrow, nor is your friends or your mates or anybody else. The life is such a interesting thing where we have it and most people just kind of wander it away. Sure, a lot of people think that they take care of themselves, sports and whatever. Folks, we're talking about two pro athletes. And before you sit there and tell me, well, they were pro wrestlers, let me tell you about both Terry Funk and Wyndham Rotunda. Both individuals were into multiple other sports as well. Wyndham Rotunda played football himself. American football at that. Terry Funk, one of the most toughest dudes around, and could play just as much. But at the end of the day, it's not about how much you can lift on weights or how good you look posing in front of a mirror. At the end of the day, it's what do you do with that? It's about telling people or showing or inspiring someone else to do something else. This day and age, everyone wastes their opportunities to make something of themselves in their moments with each other. There are people in my life that I've cut out of my life, and once I do that, they don't exist. That to me is worse punishment than anything else, because if you don't exist in my world, that's it. You don't exist. You don't mean anything to me. You don't exist in my world. Now, that might seem like the opposite effect of what the F4L means to be, but that would have to be someone who goes against what the F4L stands for. And again, what does it stand for? Love, caring, compassion, understanding, and respect for each other's differences. If these things are not in your core values, you're not F4L. I want nothing to do with you. Because I can't understand how a rational human being can not think that those things, those morals right there, are how someone should live for a better life and a better future. You can break down each one of those quotes, each one of those life lessons. Love, caring, compassion, understanding, and respect for each other's differences. People lack these things, and this is where wars come from. This is where conflict comes from. This is where racism comes from. This is where bigotry comes from. Sexism, you name it. It comes from this dark place where people will be so disrespectful and not understand others' differences. There's no love in their heart for everybody because they have to sit there side-eyed at someone else. Let me tell you something. A lot of people out there think that, their worst day is maybe, oh, gee, I hope I can get to the, Starbucks on time. I hope I can get to the gym on time. I hope I can get my, my coffee bun. Or maybe it's, I hope I can get my protein shake in today and so I can get a good workout. If this is all that you mean to be, you wasted your opportunities. The people around you aren't going to be around there forever. And that's the sad reality that I think a lot of people take for granted. I'm reminded of my first day in pro wrestling school. Much like a lot of, I'm sure other people who've been through any kind of camps or trainings can tell you the same. Martial arts, football, sports, or whatever, where there's multiple people. Let me tell you about my first day in pro wrestling camp. First day in pro wrestling school, there was probably 100 students in my class. By a week later, maybe 50 people left. And then after that, it dropped down to maybe 25. Until in the end, maybe a whopping 14 total students graduated with me in 1999 from pro wrestling school. 2000 technically. But yeah. 2000 I graduated fully, but yeah. But still, regardless of that time period, the numbers dwindled because people find out how hard it is. It's hard on your body. It's hard on your mental capacity. You push yourself to beyond breaking point. You have to be all fundamentally sound. A lot of people look at pro wrestlers like they can do that no problem. It's all scripted. It's all fake. Let me tell you something. I feel like I'm going into a promo now. But in all seriousness, telling someone who's a pro wrestler that what they do is fake is the worst mistake you can make, because that basically tells them that they are not really tough. that they are not as good as they think they are. And as far as that goes, whenever I get that question, I tell people, yeah, it's fake right up until you hit the mat, because there's no faking gravity, people. When you're standing on the top rope, that's about 7 feet above, that's about 15 feet in the air, folks. When you're landing on the mat, a lot of people think, oh, that must be cushioned. It feels good. Let me tell you what the mat is made of. It's plywood. It's steel beams crisscrossed. It's tarp, tape, and a very thick and a very thin layer of padding. That is your ring, ladies and gentlemen. So the next time someone wants to sit there and say how fake it looks, oh, it's so easy, I dare you to try to take a bump off the top rope. Land on your back. Land on your face. We do it all the time. For entertaining people. To entertain others. And this is something not a lot of people will understand about that, which is probably why the brotherhood exists. You're on the back in the a long time ago, you would be on the road for days on ends. Even to this day, you're on the road for days on ends, away from your family and your friends, not knowing what's going on at home because you're on the road entertaining. What are you doing? You're bringing in money for your family and who's sitting at home eating food while you're bleeding in front of an audience somewhere halfway across the world. You're missing birthdays, you're missing weddings, you're missing celebrations, you're missing funerals. Yet someone wants to sit there and disrespect pro wrestling and say how fake it is. Man, it's as fake as anything else that is considered to be what you think is real. It is as much athletic as anything else. In fact, even more so. It's all about having that intestinal fortitude and running on pure adrenaline. When you're playing football or baseball, basketball, or all these sports that you all think is such a great sport and that are so real, remember this. None of those athletes are throwing themselves around on a plywood. None of these people are jumping out of 5 feet off the air to land on their back on purpose. None of these people are getting hit with tables and chairs and ladders. And before you ask that idiotic question, no, the chairs are not fake. They're not made of rubber. The tables are not fake tables. There may be some tricks done with it, but they're a real table. It's a real chair. That's why you go to wrestling school, so you don't kill each other. People have the audacity to go do backyard wrestling and have the audacity to look at people like us. Let me tell you what that does. Excuse me. When I see someone who does that backyard wrestling stuff, it's a slap in the face to people like myself, people like Terry Funk, who just gave his life for the wrestling business, guys like Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda, all the people who have gone before you. Doing that stupid backyard wrestling where you're not trained properly is an insult to all of us who have bled, sweated, and left tears in that ring. Doing things the right way, going to wrestling school so we don't kill each other. And still things happen, folks. Accidents happen, things happen. Someone wants to sit there and try to tell me what sport has a higher capacity. I'd be welcome to do that study. I can take a report. I'm sure there's reports out there how many deaths there are in each of those major sports that you all think is so great. But yet, the pro wrestling world, the combat sports world dwindles. I don't know if you heard about this, and everyone who thinks, well, you know, as long as I'm healthy and I'm working out in the gym and I'm healthy, I'll be okay. I got some bad news for you. I have seen an increase on the amount of bodybuilders that we have lost over the years. I don't know why. I'm not in the bodybuilding world. Next time I have my good friend Philip Ricardo Jr., the natural bodybuilding champion, on the show, I will ask him why he thinks that bodybuilders are dying so young as much as we are. But then again, here's what I think the answer is going to be. They put the same amount of work into what they're doing as we do, but yet they are more respected than we are. And it's okay. Here's a fun part. Bodybuilders, for the most part, respect wrestlers. And it's a common mutual thing, because you still have to be in somewhat shape to do either. And the next time you are scrolling through your social media and you see one of these, a celebrity had passed away or whatever else, before you hit that like button or you share a picture, oh, look at me with this guy back then, ask yourself, why are you posting it now? Because now all of a sudden you remembered you met this person? Now all of a sudden it's meaningful? Because you made it about you. And why are you loving or liking that someone passed away? And then if you put a thumbs down, then you're being disrespectful to the person who died. Now it's a catch-22, right? Why is it even there to begin with? I know I'm not alone as far as the wrestling world, people who have just, stopped commenting on every single death that has happened. Because it happens all the time. As I said, it's like the entertainment world. They come in threes. It's a sad, morbid guessing game. Who's going to be the next three? And then when one goes, I have to figure out who was gone around before, who was done before or after. So know when the next three are coming. Yesterday, in the last 48 hours, we've lost 3 pro wrestlers in one day. That's insane. But it's also reality for us. Different ages, different levels of entry in the wrestling world. Terry Funk, responsible for helping form pro wrestling. Bray Wyatt is responsible for wrestling continuing today to have the intrigue and the mystique that it has. For a new fan base, keeping the business alive for the futures to come. Why do we think it's important to talk to these younger people? Why do we think it's important for the guys who have been around the business to take these young guys under the wing and show them the ways so that they don't end up like these people? People like DDP, Diamond Dallas Page, has developed the DDP yoga program. People laughed at it at first, but guess what? That program has saved lives for many people. Bray Wyatt is someone who has done that program. Many people have taken the DDP yoga program, and you know what? The wrestling world is thankful to have people like DDP who cared about his friends. He was sick of seeing his friends die young and in pain, and he did something about it. That is the difference between everybody else. People say something and they don't do anything about it. DDP saw something and didn't like it, and he did something about it. It is thanks to guys like DDP who open these places to help people like Bray Wyatt or other people who are struggling with various things. Give them a healthy diet, get them in shape. And there have been people who have had their careers and their lives expanded thanks to guys like DDP. The wrestling business wouldn't be here for the guys who are pioneers who are no longer with us, but are all around watching, filling the stands of every auditorium that they bled in, that they sweat in, and that they have lost many amounts of buckets of sweat. There will never be another Terry Funk. There will never be another Bray Wyatt. But here's the thing. That's not the way to look at this. Heroes are remembered. Legends never die. But icons of the F4L live forever. That's how the F4L looks at it. That's how we look at it. So whenever I walk down the street, I feel the energy of everyone who has gone before me. I've been in many wakes and funerals and all these things, and let me tell you, different families, different things, it's the same thing. People get around, they talk about whatever. My family's wakes are different than most people's. They talk about sports, they talk about politics, they talk about what cars are coming out, what electronics are coming out, what computers they're going to buy. But they forget about why they're there to begin with. The person who is gone. In our tradition, our family, that's considered to be a sign of celebration of the person who is gone. But is it a celebration of the person who's gone because you're not talking about them. You're talking about you. Making it about you. And I know that people view these things as being some way to help themselves through the trauma. And sure, we are the ones that have to live with the sadness of saying goodbye, not having these people in the physical form anymore. But at the end of the day, instead of talking about what computers are coming out or what car you're going to buy next week, something meaningless at the end of the day. Because at the end of the day, you're still alive. And that is the biggest gift that you have that the person you're there to celebrate does not have. When you wake up and it's a raining, miserable day, it's raining out, the winds come in and all this stuff, remember, you get to see the rain. You get to see the magic that is Mother Nature. Guess what? Someone right now does not have that luxury. That's reality, folks. Live for your moments. Make the most of every single moment of your life. Have meaning with your life. Use your words. If you have feelings for someone, tell them you have feelings for them. Don't go with regret. I am thankful that I, for the most part, have always said exactly what I had to say to my F4Ls. But of course, I'm sure there are people in between that I would love to say more to. My mother, for example, I didn't get to have a lot to say to. There are plenty of things I would love to talk to my mother about right now. I'm about 80% certain that if my mother was around, she'd probably be on this podcast because she would insist upon it. Because that's who my mother was. But you see, what I did there is I brought up my mother and I'm talking about her. Because guess what? As long as you continue to talk about these people, as in they're present, they live forever. So you see that old saying, heroes are remembered but legends never die? The reason being is because as long as you are still continuing to talk about these people, keeping their memories alive, reminding people why they are awesome. Don't make it about you. Stop talking about, oh, look at me and this person, because guess what? That's irrelevant. While you're taking a picture with that gentleman, that's another reminder to his wife and his kids that they are not in that same photo. But some Joe Schmo who met him at a Taco Bell 10 years ago can post a picture of it. Like you're some type of relevant. And I get if you think that is a way to celebrate them, but let's face it. Admit it, it's for you, not them. I find it to be disrespectful to post a picture of someone when they're gone. But yet you didn't post it last week or 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, but all of a sudden you feel the need because the person's no longer there. That's a spitting in their face. That's saying that they're the flavor of the month, and that's the most disrespectful thing you can do. You could keep their memories alive by talking about them. honoring them in that way. Remember when Joe Schmo did such and such. That's how you honor your friends. You don't make it about you. You make it about them. Remember when Joe Schmo did. There are so many people out there who have this illusion that everything revolves around them. That you live, that your life is full of sunshine, that everything's going to be wonderful. And guess what? If you're one of these people that you think life is just going to hand it to you, and that everything's going to be all sunshine and rainbows and lollipops, man, when reality hits you, you'll be really not going to be enjoying that too much. There are two things I always wondered growing up. Why I was born into the family I had. And the other was, what am I going to do? Because I am not staying like this for the rest of my life. And the answer was I helped form the F4L so that other people like me had a family of people who had love, caring, compassion, understanding, and respect for each other's differences. And what that means is that it doesn't matter how you celebrate someone else. It doesn't matter what your religion is. It doesn't matter what your background is, who you love, man, woman. Doesn't matter. Both. Who cares? As long as you respect the individual, that is what counts. No more war. Stop being hated. Stop hating on each other. Stop being disrespectful. There's no need of feuds. They're pointless and meaningless. And if someone upsets you so much that you really can't live with that, then just do like me. They don't exist anymore. That's it. Plain and simple. Don't interact with them at all. That is the solution. Move on. You don't try to overtake them or try to make yourself bigger than you are. That's how wars begin, is by disagreements, not being able to respect each other's differences, not understanding each other. That's how wars begin. We don't believe in such things. Now, I believe in fighting for what you believe in. I believe in fighting for your dreams. And I believe sometimes you do need to stand your ground and stand up for what's right. But that is what the F4L was built on, was that. But there's a difference between that and fighting wars for no apparent reason. The only time you fight is when you need to fight. And needing to fight means that your life is in trouble or your family members are in trouble. That is the only reason. There's no need of war. Who has a bigger gun? Who has a bigger knife? And when people sit there and they start throwing out all these cool little toys, oh, look at my gun, look at my knife, I laugh at you. It doesn't make me feel, it doesn't make me think that you're wonderful. It just means that I know that you think you need that to fight. Or take care of yourself. I don't believe in guns. I've seen the effects of them. In my face, I have seen them. They have taken a life of... they took my friend's life at 13 years old, folks. He was right in front of me. Imagine if he had that kid had some type of weird thing where that thing went through him and went and hit me. I wouldn't be here today. My friend's not here today. That's because some clown brought a gun to a party. And he was 16. My friend's not here anymore. He was gone at 13 years old. As I said, I've encountered these things most of my life. Quicker than a lot of other people. So, at the end of the day, I don't want to sound like I'm yelling at you guys about I want to make sure the message is clear here. I'm not trying to get down on you guys or tell you guys about what you're doing wrong. What I want you to do is realize what you have, and that's a life. And chance to say the things that you need to say to the ones that matter most. I told you guys this was going to be a long show, and I stand by that. I am a man of my word. So, again, folks, my condolences to those we've lost in the last couple days. I will not post a picture of those people. This was me honoring them, and I honor all those who have gone before me. They live within my heart, mind, body, and soul. Because heroes are remembered, legends never die, but icons of the F4L live forever. On a side note, I hope everyone enjoyed the icons of the F4L this morning. It was a fantastic show. My voice is coming back a little bit. Thank you very much, Elijah Furton and Speedy East McDonald, for helping me lose my voice for a little while. And an absolute classic matchup. But folks, at the end of the day, what I want you to do is go to your loved one and tell them you love them. That's your homework. Tell someone you care. Tell someone thank you. Tell someone something who means something to you. Tell them why. Tell your mom, your dad, your grandmother, your aunt, your uncle, your coach, your sensei, your professor, whatever you want to call them, your teacher. Show them their respect. Show them your appreciation by telling them what they mean to you. You're not guaranteed to have that tomorrow. And that sense of regret will live with you and harness you forever. So, folks, fulfill your days. May all your dreams come true. From the F4L Headquarters podcast, I am the leader of the F4L, Sean Jazz Stevens, saying, may all your dreams come true. Rest in peace. May all your dreams come true. Peace from the F4L Headquarters. Goodbye, everybody.